Ahoj, vítám vás u dalšího videa. Dneska tady máme speciální událost ve Škoda, protože přijel zakladatel peak designeru Peter Daring se svým týmem. Už tam na nás čekají na interview, takže pojďme se podívat, co si pro nás přichystal.
There was a Nintendo game, original Nintendo, called Ice Hockey.
Right.
Remember the game? Maybe you
No,
maybe
I
you
don't.
had it, maybe you didn't. I was born in '83, and Czechoslovakia was always
83?
my favorite team.
Man,
well, that's
you're
when
so
I was
young.
born. Yeah, I mean,
I'm 88.
you're 88.
Yeah, yeah.
You're younger than me.
Yeah, yesterday I read a few interviews with you, obviously, kind of to catch up and stuff, and you were saying like you got married at 40, and I was like, man, this guy's like, I got married last year, I'm 35, but yeah, everything kind of picks up the pace.
Yeah.
And when did you arrive anyway to Czech Republic?
Let's see. I got in yesterday morning. A very early flight from Lisbon, where we had one of our colleagues who's been working with our Czech distributor here for many years. Finally got married, and
I see.
One of my favorite parts about running a business is trying to figure out how to make my travels be business expenses. Right? And so I've got Luke's wedding in Lisbon.
Nice.
Maybe we go to visit a little bit of Portugal. It's a very nice place.
Yeah, it is.
Beforehand, we were riding motorcycles through the Pyrenees,
nice.
which I swear, like the reason that Peak Design makes motorcycle mounts now is not just because I want the tax write-off, but it is convenient that now I get to rent a motorcycle anywhere, and I'm product testing. So
well, you swung right through, because I've read that the Capture was the very first kind of a product, and the idea came when you were riding motorcycles.
Yes, yeah, right. Absolutely, it did. And actually, like that type of trip, while I've never repeated the full 4 months of uninterrupted travel, like I can get back in that mode and I can access it, and I know precisely the set of feelings that I had. And it's funny, I can walk around a city and I can spot the people who are on that same journey, because it's not particularly unique, right? People in their low and middle 20s out there exploring the world, seeing it for the first time. So many of them are drawn to photography, especially in that time. You just like what you see, you're at least seeing for the first time, and you want to capture it, you want to share it, and it's really been the joy of a lifetime to be able to make a brand on that feeling.
Yeah. Speaking about the Capture though, we talked about it with Jan here behind the camera. Were you very convenient about it? Because I'm riding XT660R. Imagine like driving in Czech, we have very kind of a rough terrain. There is no like really gravel, nice roads and stuff. It's bumpy a lot and stuff. And I'm just not sure if I'm confident enough to put my camera into the Capture and to drive it around.
Well, the Capture is not going to let go of your camera. I'll be sure of that.
All right.
Whether or not you end up having a heart palpitation, that all depends on how good your suspension is. But,
that's true.
But the Capture will not drop it. I can promise you that.
Nice. And it's your first time in Europe?
Well, no. My first time in Europe was I was 20, and I was lucky enough to study abroad in Rome. I did my engineering studies in Madison, Wisconsin, but I did a semester abroad, and I went to Rome. And that was like, if I really string together the events that led me to forming Peak Design, that study abroad was the beginning, the first inflection point, which made me understand that the world is huge and it is incredible. I think I grew up, I had never really left the United States for my whole childhood. And I grew up with some sort of impression that the United States was the most lucky country. Like, for whatever reason, we had it best, or something like that. And I think that somehow is broadly, that is a feeling that exists out there. But oh man, when you grow up in the United States and you visit Europe for the first time, or you visit Asia, but like particularly Europe, you're like, oh wow, we do not have it the best in the United States. There's a whole nother way of living that people have been doing for much longer, and it is much more interesting. It's much more community driven, and like I am really drawn to that. In fact, when I came back, I had a lot of friends who were kind of like, oh, look at Pete, he's changed. Because I came back with long hair, and I came back so pro Italia and pro Europe. So, you know, that was my first experience in Europe.
You know, I think, in my opinion, peak design, especially in Czech and Slovak community, because we are still kind of connected, these communities really kind of connect through. And I think you can see, I don't know how I don't particularly watch the other markets, but here we are, as you said, community driven. We are connected with the brand, our travels are connected, we have our own hashtags for it and stuff. And it kind of made it through. It wasn't the capture that captured my eye. It was the straps. You see, you kind of call, like, the sensors make groundbreaking things, and the bigger it gets, you get more dynamic range. You know it as a photographer. But the groundbreaking thing for me was the whole attaching system, the whole mounts and the straps. It's just, there's nothing better on the market. And if you look back at it, what do you think about it?
Well, it's easy to look back and see that there are two key inventions in the history of peak design. The capture is the first one. The capture was the novel thing that allowed us to enter the market, and then the straps was you need to kind of come back to the pitch for capture was ditch your strap. We used to bring around scissors and cut straps off.
That's like...
But then, like after time, we had to admit, like, but actually sometimes straps are nice. But what would be nice is if they were able to take on and off really easily, and be like, and have a guaranteed, can't accidentally come off, but still is easy to take on and off. And that patent for us has still been standing up now for 10 years straight. And I think is certainly by dollar terms, the most important piece of intellectual property we've ever developed. So you're right to key in on that as the main thing that has sold a lot of people on peak design.
Oh, pigeons.
Pigeons. Here too?
It's like... Anyway, and the other thing I see now, and where I see I know the peak design was originally found with photographer in mind, and kind of founded by photographers, give it to photographers and stuff. But now, like 2 years or 3 years, I'm not really sure, mobile. It kind of, I see it as the peak design is kind of like letting the photography go, and we discovered another market, and it's cycling, which is, the Czech is just massive. Everything is so accessible these days. And then obviously motorcycling, but I think the cycling world, where people just like those gadgets and it just works, you just attach it and go. And it kind of goes as, your most used photograph like camera is this, and it's where you... So I think, and I can see it on the guys from Peak Design Czech Republic, that they are kind of being in these events where there's lots of cycling and stuff. So I think it kind of opens a whole new world to you guys.
It is a whole new world. Now, we don't want to leave photo behind. I want to be really clear about
Glad to hear that.
And actually, the reason why I think it feels that way is because, Peak Design has been a pretty small company for most of our time. And our one design team, we sort of had to point at, like, okay, we're doing bags. Okay, we're doing mobile. Okay, maybe we can get back somewhere else. But now we're large enough where we are going to have whole teams consistently on the tripod department, right? Straps and clips department. Kind of R&D in the world of cameras department. At the same time, a separate team now is on mobile, which includes cycling and which includes motorcycle. And we are even thinking about further, like, do we create larger teams for products outside of just these mobile phone clips for motorcycle and bike? And to be honest, I'm not completely sure yet. I think I want to let that develop over time. What I'm confident in is that we make the very best product for someone that wants to mount their phone to their bicycle or their motorcycle. But we're still brand new in that world. Most people don't know who we are. But I still think... and
it's kind of strange because the other sentence Jan talked about in the car was like, hey man, I bought this like a new strap for my watch, and it looked leather, but it wasn't leather, and it's kind of shit. And I'm just like, I'm not buying the cheap stuff ever again. Where peak design hits kind of that point where it's okay to buy it. It's not too expensive, not too cheap, and the quality is just great.
The quality is there.
Plus, how do you manage with this phenomenal lifetime guarantee and stuff?
Well, you have to make quality products.
Yeah.
You have to. Yeah. And we're not perfect, right? Some of our products have broken down in ways that we didn't expect. It's very difficult to test for everything, right? Because you can't perfectly simulate time and the amount of wear. But we make things such that, if we are going to sell it into the world, we need to be able to, if it breaks, replace it, and it's critical. And some combination of having just enough margin to be built in to provide a safety net so that we're not going to go out of business if we have to replace a product, but also just building for longevity.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Which
not to mention, the other component I'll say there is that if you want to talk about sustainability, which a lot of people do these days, the most sustainable way you can make a thing is keep it out of the landfill, keep it in use, keep it in circulation, keep it usable for as long as possible.
Which is great, and it kind of goes against this, like, all the companies these days, it's like, we need to have, like, continuous growth. Every year we need to go up 20%, like crazy. Where is that market coming from? It's just like, the one point is obviously, you said there's so many people who don't know us.
Yeah.
Which in Czech Republic, especially the photography, we call it like a photography pond or lake, so to say, which is kind of a much smaller than the cycling community, which is massive, I think.
Well, that's where we're going to get our growth, right? Is by accessing these new markets. I've thought a lot about growth over time, and like, why do we need to grow?
Yeah.
And I've actually been, kind of sour on growth. Like, sustainability is a thing that appeals to me. However, after running a company now for quite some time, there are a couple reasons why we do need to grow, and one of them is simply for the engagement of my employees. I have really smart, excellent people working for me. The thing is that they all they accomplish a task, they learn from that, and then the next task that they want to accomplish, it has to be more complex. It has to be a little bit bigger. Like, they have to build upon what they've done. And I think this is a very human trait. But fundamentally, that's at least why peak design kind of has this growth mandate. It's not because I, as the owner of the company, demand more money. It's because the individuals demand that they have that their ambition is satisfied with the furtherance of them.
Because as they work, they still want to develop.
Of course,
they want to know more.
That's why they got into it in the first. That's what makes them excellent employees.
Nice.
Is their desire to solve problems and solve ever more complicated problems, and simply put, they will get bored.
Yeah. Now, the sustainability, and we obviously need to talk about it, the climate neutral. I mean, especially in States, as I said, I don't watch the market too much, but I think you guys are big there about it. In Czech, it's kind of a coming, with 2-3 years delay and stuff, but we are getting there. How such a, like, I would say massive now, the brand can be sustainable in a way that you have packaging, that you kind of, everyone nowadays makes things in China, and it just gets shipped and packed, and there's so many people involved. So, like, there's so much transport involved before it gets to the, like, potential customer, which is just.
Well, here's the kind of the it's certainly not a secret in my view about that. Although I do think that customers sometimes have a strange understanding of it. The product that is made by Peak Design, and I'll say Patagonia, which in the United States is revered for the sustainability efforts, but also, then I will also say H&M or Zara or whatever it may be, it's actually not that much different in terms, especially of the carbon footprint, right? There's nothing that Patagonia or Peak Design can do to greatly outperform these other companies. And like, don't get me wrong, there are a zillion little things that you can do to make your products more sustainable. And I kind of call those items table stakes. It's like, it's just the bare minimum that you need to be doing. don't be stupid about your packaging.
Yeah.
Of course, like use the best materials that there are possible out there, but acknowledge that the best materials possible out there take you from a 100 bad points to 92 bad points. But like, it's this section here that is the real challenge, and this is the challenge for all of society.
Yeah.
And you know, the simplest way to really understand that, at least the way that I like to simplify it, which I acknowledge is an oversimplification, is that we just need the world to electrify, and we need that electricity to come from clean sources. And I'm actually just very, very optimistic about what I see. There's the rate of photovoltaic adoption, the way that we are utilizing batteries as storage around the clock, wind production, like all renewables, it's not just that they're getting in place, it's that they're getting so much cheaper at such a rapid rate. And it's actually, we have a lot of Chinese innovation to thank for that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, things are really going to get very interesting in the world in the next, well, from now on, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard, and politics are going to matter and all of this, but like, I still, despite everything that is going on, I remain pretty optimistic about this world's ability to overcome the huge challenges that we have.
Yeah.
So, call me optimistic.
It's sort of that's nice way of putting it. Like you have the 100 points and you're sort of cutting every single one at a time. And then always the other point is to give back.
Yes.
If you have a lot, you can always give back.
That's right.
Which is the simplest way to do it.
Yes.
And
it's simple, but it's really important, and most companies don't have the will or the fortitude to give even what we give. And 1% for the Planet is an incredible organization that provided the basis of Peak Design's giving, but it also provided the idea behind Climate Neutral, what is now an organization called Change Climate. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's hard to say whether I'm more proud of Peak Design or whether I'm more proud of Change Climate, because there's a lot of nonprofit organizations out there trying to do good in one way or another, and I just am so proud of what Change Climate has done. The software tools they have created to help companies measure their carbon footprint, and then the social encouragement to make sure they do something about it. And by doing something, we mean pay money, real money. Not just like a little bit here or there, but like a sincere amount of the money that you're bringing in. Because ultimately, it's been demonstrated by economists many times, climate change is a solvable problem. We just have to decide to pay for it. And so that's what this organization is forcing companies to do.
And it's nice that you're kind of there's no BS about it. You just say it the way it is, which is so nice and so obvious. Well, Peter, thank you for coming.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoy something better than the water, which is great, obviously.
You guys have some beers around here,
well,
right?
yeah, we do. We do have quite a few.
I need to ask you, though. So tomorrow we're signed up for the beer spa.
Wow.
Is it tourist trap entirely? Or is there something real there?
I'm 35. I've never done it. I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry to break it to you.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, we can all be a tourist.
Well.
Cheers, man.
Thank you very much for coming.